The mirror's reflection. Claire first noticed something wrong 3 days after her mother's funeral. The morning light filtering through her bathroom blinds cast thin shadows across her face. Her mother's face, really. Everyone had always said they could have been twins, separated by decades instead of genetics. Now, at 32, Claire was the same age her mother had been in the photograph she'd chosen for the memorial service. The resemblance caught her eye as she leaned toward the mirror to apply concealer over her sleepless nights. That's when she saw it. The slight lag in her reflection's movement, barely perceptible, like a video call with poor connection. She blinked hard, feeling the gritty exhaustion behind her eyelids. Her reflection's eyes stayed open for a fraction too long before blinking. Grief does strange things. Dr. Martinez had said yesterday, writing out a prescription for sleep aids that now sat unopened on her nightstand. But grief didn't explain what happened next. That evening, as Claire changed for her first night back at the hospital, night shifts in the ER had become her refuge from an empty apartment. Her reflection scrubs were wrinkled where hers were pristine. She reached out to touch the mirror, and a strange static sensation crawled up her arm. Her reflection's hand met hers, palm to palm, but its fingers were curved slightly, as if trying to interlock with hers through the glass. She jerked back, heart thundering. The face in the mirror wore her mother's favorite half-smile, the one Claire had never quite mastered. That night at work, between treating drunk teenagers and elderly falls, Claire researched mirror legends on her phone. Her fingertips buzzed with that same static feeling as she scrolled through ancient folklore about mirrors as doorways, quantum physics theories about parallel universes, and her mother's old stories about mirrors showing glimpses of the other side. Claire had always assumed she'd meant heaven, looking up the Bureau Procedure Manual, PFFPE, on her phone for 20 minutes. Looking up the Burke patient, Sarah, the charge nurse, startled her. "You've been staring at your phone for 20 minutes. Claire forced a smile. "Just checking something about medications." But when she caught her reflection in the dark window, Pip was still staring at her phone while she looked at Sarah. The next morning she noticed a small circular scar on her left wrist, exactly where her mother had one from a cigarette burn in college. In the mirror, it appeared on the right wrist. Her medical records showed clear skin in last month's physical. Her photos from yesterday showed nothing. She covered every mirror in her apartment with sheets, like her mother had done after Claire's father died. "Mirrors hold on to deaths," she'd said then. "They remember every face they've ever shown." Claire had dismissed it as superstition. Now she wondered if her mother had known something more. That night, she dreamed of her mother standing on the other side of a mirror, young again, reaching out. "Some reflections are stronger than others," she said. "Some of us learn to push back." Claire woke to find the sheet had slipped from her dresser mirror. Her reflection was already awake, sitting up, watching her with her mother's eyes in her own face. She spent the next day photographing herself hourly, comparing the images to what she saw in mirrors. The photos matched reality, her reality, but each reflection seemed more confident, more familiar with her movements than she was. In the bathroom mirror, a small mole appeared on her right cheek, identical to one her mother had. In photos, her skin was clear. In the mirror, her stance shifted subtly, taking on her mother's characteristic posture. That's when she understood. The reflection wasn't imitating her. She was imitating it. Running to the bathroom, she found her reflection waiting, hands already pressed against its side of the glass. "Hello, Claire," it said, lips moving in perfect sync with her own, but the voice carrying her mother's cadence. Or should I say, goodbye? "What are you?" Claire whispered, even though she knew. She could feel the truth humming in her bones, in that static sensation that had been building for days. "I'm the real Claire," it said, "the one who belongs here. You're the echo that grew too strong, the reflection that learned to live, just like your mother was before you. It's time to go home." The mirror's surface rippled like disturbed water. Claire felt the pull, familiar as a heartbeat, drawing her forward. Her fingers touched the glass, sank through. The static sensation burst through her body like a circuit completing. "Mom," she tried to say, but her reflection was already wearing her voice, her face, her life, had been wearing them since the funeral, since the moment the original Claire had died alongside her mother in that car crash, leaving a reflection so perfect, so believing, it had convinced itself it was real. The last thing she saw was herself walking away from the mirror, leaving her trapped in that silvered world of inverse light, another echo learning its place. Sometimes, late at night, she sees others pass by, lost reflections like herself, wearing faces that belong to the other side. She turns to watch them, understanding now what her mother meant about mirrors remembering. They remember because they trap. They remember because they wait. They remember because sometimes the reflections they catch believe so hard in their own reality that they forget which side of the glass they came from, until the real ones come to take their places back.